when I was at work one day, we got a box in of EverQuest. It was just a box of this game I'd never heard of, and it said that it was an online role-playing game. And so I bought it, took it home, installed it on my computer, and then spent like the next, 6 years of my life playing it.
Sucked into the world of Norath.
This is Absolute Episode 1, and we want to talk about Chronicles of Elyria.
Absolute Episode 1.
Absolute Episode 1. This might even be an Episode 0.
Absolute 0 of Episode 1 of Vendor Trash.
Vendor Trash. Why are we Vendor Trash?
All the good names were taken.
That is absolutely true. All the good names were taken. All right.
I think Vendor Trash is good. It kind of represents that we don't take ourselves too seriously. It's a joke. But yeah, I just liked it.
And every MMO, you make your living off of it.
I think it's beyond MMOs. I think it's single player games even.
Okay. Most role-playing games, you make your living off of it.
It's like, how many of these pairs of boots do I want to drag back there?
All right, we got to be unnatural for a minute or two here.
Yes.
Who are you?
That's a deep question.
It is. If we're judging by your picture, you probably don't get much sun.
I need to find a new picture to use, but for now, Shirani will work. Who am I? In what regards? Like for real, beyond the podcast, or are you talking?
Well, the name that you have listed here on Discord says Kalus Cree.
Right.
So, are you Kalus Cree?
That's definitely a persona. I mean, I hitting the brakes. I'm like, I don't know what I'm talking about. Kalus Cree was a character I think I've used in every video game since I started playing online games, especially since the birth of the internets.
I have been also quite jealous of the fact that you've been able to hang on to one name for so long, because I've never found that name.
Sometimes I have had to add an S or an extra U, but in general, Kalus Cree. And that was, that's one of the disappointments in the surname reservation on Chronicles of Elyria, not getting the surname Cree. Really sucked. But
well, I know for certain that your Kalus goes all the way back to EQ. That's the first time I think I've ever saw the name. Well, for the record, from time to time I will probably call Kalus Corley, because that's his name.
That is who I am.
And I'm not going to remember to call him Kalus. So when Kalus Cree is Corley, when you hear me say it, that's why.
Yeah, we'll just try to confuse the listener as much as possible.
As much as possible, right.
And then vice versa, Patch is Sam. Sam is Patch.
Yes. Yeah,
so I'll probably mostly say Patch because that's what I do.
Unlike Kalus, I have never come up with an in-game name that I just love. And I've used different names in different games. But my online persona has always been Patch. And so that's what I tend to use.
Yeah, all right. Not too shabby.
So, why do people care about what we're talking about? What makes us different? We're probably not different at all. We're probably just like all of them.
We're just like every other podcast. Really,
we're just like you.
I think right now, I'm gonna go for a while. No, Chronicles of Elyria is something that this game is it's waiting to ruin my life. Basically, is what I'm waiting for it to do. And
we discussed a game very much like Chronicles of Elyria in the early 2000s, like probably 2000, 2001.
Yeah, without the specifics and the work they put in, just the broad.
Without knowing anything about programming or gaming engines or any of that stuff.
No, just sitting back and
talked about this. Yeah,
drinking beers and going, man, the perfect MMO would be this.
Right.
Some place where you could affect the world. What your actions matter and
right.
Oh man, and yeah, basically. So
before we'd ever heard of words like theme parks or all the other tropes of MMOs that have come to take over the world. Apparently.
While we were still figuring out why we didn't quite love World of Warcraft as much as EverQuest, even though it was fun.
Right.
Still defining. But yeah, the world of MMOs has been unchanged since Gen 1. Honestly, the morphs from EQ or UO, Ultima Online.
We can kind of skip UO because it was very limiting on one hand. As much as it was an open world game, it did not have the same immersiveness as EverQuest.
No, EverQuest was the first one where you felt like you were in a fantasy world, not in a video game. I know it doesn't make anyway. Yeah, like
I played UO for a maximum of maybe 3 months total, and I did not put a lot of effort into it.
I remember at the time you were pretty pumped about it.
I was pumped about the idea that we could all log into one game and
play together and slay dragons.
I mean, the more we try to capture that every couple of months with some game.
Some new game, yeah. Like, oh, it's gonna be it. So who we are, gaming wise. Let's talk about it. Me and you started with UO.
I did,
and you, like you said, you played it for a few months, but shortly after that, you started playing EQ.
Well, I don't know if this matters or not, but when I was at work one day, we got a box in of EverQuest. It was just a box of this game I'd never heard of, and it said that it was an online role-playing game. And so I bought it, took it home, installed it on my computer, and then spent like the next, 6 years of my life playing it.
Sucked into the world of Norath. Yeah, and you, of course, told me how great this game was. In fact, you built the computer that I played on for the next 2 or 3 years, then the next computer that I played on for the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, and then after you, then Dale's like, "Hey, I want to play."
Yeah, so another computer was built and another person was added to the party.
Yeah, and it just kept going from there. The next thing I know, my wife's playing, my sister's playing, you guys are all playing, all my friends are playing. We had just this nice group of people in game at all times. It was awesome.
And we talked about this before, that it was just kind of the time frame of where we were in life. It was the point where we were no longer hanging out as much, and all of a sudden we could hang out again.
Yeah.
And, we'd always tabletop gamed and our pen and paper RPGs and things like that. But that point in our life where we were starting to have kids, lives, marriages and stuff, but we still hang out. And in fact, EQ was probably more detrimental to our time in our relationships than...
Oh, no, yeah, because you didn't have to leave the house to do it.
Than the pen and papers were. So, anyway.
No, it got... For our viewership out there, it got so bad that once or twice I had to take Corley food so that he didn't starve to death.
That's only a slight exaggeration. It's more about the beer consumption. So from EQ, we went through the natural progression that we actually left EQ, then came back to it, I think.
No, and I think I left EQ and came back a couple times. I left EQ, or we all left EQ.
Everybody did at different times.
Dark Age of Camelot.
Yes, when it came out, the AOC.
We spent maybe a month playing that before we realized it was garbage and went back to EQ.
Yes.
And in its defense, it just tried new things.
No, it pushed. I don't even remember all of it. That was the one with the 3 races in the middle area where you had combat.
I remember the moment we decided we were done was when we got the whole guild together and we were going to march on one of the other kingdoms.
The Bretones. Was that the one with the Bretones and the Celts, or I don't remember.
And I don't remember. It's been
too many games.
All I know is that while we were marching, there was some guy hiding in the woods with a bow, and he was picking us off from the trees, one-shotting us with his freaking bow and arrow.
Yeah, and there was just nothing we could do about it. There's something else to say too, because here's this has always been between me and Patch, which is my memory is terrible. That's probably putting it mildly. It's like I can enjoy a movie a second time if enough time has passed because I don't remember the twist. And Sam will always be asking me, "Hey, you remember this?" I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And it's just the way it is. My memory is piss poor, so a lot of times I rely on Sam's memory. But anyway, just a qualifier.
We went back to EQ after that, and Oh, what was the next one?
Man, there was a whole bunch in there, kind of.
I
But
played
World of
I
Warcraft
played
was really.
Shadowbane. I don't think anybody played Shadowbane with me.
What's the one that's still around that came out somewhere in there? I don't remember. Man, there's been so many we tried.
Oh yeah, you we easily tried 10 MMOs between the years of 1999 and 2005.
Oh
Easily.
yeah, easily. I would say if you went to MMORPG.com and looked at the list, that we probably played 80 to 90% of them. At least the free month or whatever that came with them,
Well, and
if
I
nothing
I, I
else.
s- I I I put the thing in there up to 2005 because after that I stopped really trying all the new ones that came out because too many were coming out. I mean, there were just too many
No, I mean
to
I
keep.
remember sci-fi ones and survival ones, and there's just a lot of them. And most of them I'd actually make a character on and play for a little bit and go like, I really don't enjoy this.
Yeah, no, same way.
And again, it's because there was no innovation really. There was nothing new. It was
Right.
just the same kind of level grind slash loot grind. Uh, and I'd already done that and had fun with it and had that moment in time when it was awesome.
We absolutely have to talk a little bit about World of Warcraft because it is the most popular MMO ever made,
There's no doubt.
and I
And
guess we have to give it a little bit of time.
I enjoyed World of Warcraft when it first came out. I was blown away by holy crap! This I just took out this camp and it dropped a green sword.
Yeah,
What the fuck? Oh, because I came from EQ where, yeah, there wasn't no yeah. And so anyway, and then but shortly into it, I was just you realize that it was just a Monty Hall. Um, Loot was everywhere, and it was fun. Don't get me wrong. Their style, obviously it was fun. They took
right.
the worst. I say worst, but some of the stuff I loved about EQ, which is the fact you could not play it by yourself, effectively.
Right.
You could not. It was a social game. You had to work with others, and they just took and said, "No, fuck that. You can do it whatever." And that was my major problem with World of Warcraft. And I'm sure there's tons of World of Warcraft lovers that will hate on me for my opinion on WoW, but that's fine. It's just that it's a MMO. It's multiplayer. You're supposed to be out there making friends and relationships and building a
Right.
reputation as being good at your class. And
Right.
and when you took that away, and it's just like, oh, I'm looking for group. Okay, yeah, here you DPS. Okay, let's go.
In
And
EQ, there were probably 30 players on our server who I never grouped with, but I knew
strictly
who
based
they
off their
were.
reputation.
I knew them strictly based on their reputation.
Oh yeah, there was yeah.
And I'm not saying that that's a huge number because it's not.
Mm-mm.
But I guarantee you, and this sounds a little
I
arrogant,
guarantee.
but I guarantee you there are people to this day who tell stories about grouping with you and me like it was a big deal. I know it sounds arrogant. It really, really does. But how many times did you get a tell out of the blue from somebody you've never heard of or met saying, hey, can you come to hate or fear because we lost our enchanter?
Yes. No, there's
Because
no
like,
doubt.
I can tell you it happened to me twice a week. Hey, we need a main tank because ours can't show up. Can you come tank fear
Can you
for
come
us?
tank pay? Yeah.
Yeah. No, it happened all the time. And that's all I'm basing this on is that those people who I'd never met, you'd never met, they knew us by our reputations. They didn't do /who all warrior
Yeah. Who all
and
60
pick
warrior?
somebody at random.
Yeah.
They did who all warrior and went, oh shit, Yelrock's on. Or they did who all enchanter and went, oh shit, Kalus is on. Maybe he'll come do this for us.
Yeah, it was good times, man. It was the golden age.
And
And
that's part of what's missing from every MMO since then.
oh, without a doubt, I think that's where Caspian and the Soulbound Studios are just from the ground up, man. You matter. Your reputation matters. What you do in this world is going to matter. As far
Right.
as much as you want it to, obviously. You can be a nobody if that's your choice.
Right. So when you say you can be anonymous, I'm just agreeing with you. Yeah, you can do that. You can be that guy who's somebody's awesome friend, but nobody else knows who you are.
So that's basically what started us on the addiction to MMOs, and ever since then we've tried basically every MMO that's come out. At least whatever trial version is set with the game, from the DAOC and every what was it? What were all of them, man? Shadowbane, Conan. Wasn't there something based off Conan somewhere in there?
I think there were a couple.
The Warhammer, and of course the World of
Oh, I
Warcraft.
forgot all about Warhammer. We
Yeah.
played that for a couple months, almost 3 months, didn't we?
No, we got pretty. We got. I don't want to say far in it, but we were enjoying
Yeah,
the PvP in it. I think the most.
right.
But
No, we got into that guild, and then we got kind of heavy into it, and then they started creeping me out. And
yeah, who was the? Oh, anyway. So yeah, I don't want to call us. What is the word? Experts. What's the thing they put on the local news whenever they have somebody on there, and it's like a dog barking expert. Like, what the fuck? But no, we're basically diehard MMO fans, and now we're diehard Chronicles of Elyria fans, and we want to talk about all things Elyria and why we're excited about it. And I guess this first episode, we kind of just want to touch on broad strokes everything we're excited about in Chronicles of Elyria, so that someone who knows nothing about the game can kind of come and get some information about it. Diehard fans of the game already, I don't know if they'll if this will be that informative to them, this episode, but I think it's a good place to start.
well, there's a lot of people interested in this game, so much so that I don't have the numbers in front of me. Haven't they brought up like $4 million so far?
Man, I don't know where the Kickstarter. I mean, the Kickstarter was
Well,
hugely
the
successful.
Kickstarter was
but,
like the Kickstarter ended at like 1.4 million.
yeah, and then since then they've had a lot of successful crowd-funded contests and events, like the Free Kingdom of Elyria and the like. And they keep coming out with more content that you can purchase and things like that to fund the game. And it's
And they have been open to the point of brutality about what they're doing behind the scenes.
oh yeah, that's one of the most encouraging things, or not even encouraging, most invigorating things about it is how open they are with everything that's going on.
Right. I mean, they've had some ups and downs. All game development is going to have ups and downs, and they have been transparent about, I mean, even to the point of like, we thought we were going to use this game engine, and it's not working out. We're going to change.
Yeah.
And then the next one was, you know what? We were really expecting to have a publisher by now who would be helping us pay for this stuff, and we don't have a publisher because everybody wants to take away our creativity, and so we're going to have to lay some people off. I mean, they have just been brutally honest about this stuff.
No,
And
their trust with their fan base is through, at least in my perception, is through the roof.
no, and again, it has a lot, because there's people out there who say the opposite of what you and I are saying right now.
Well,
I don't
anybody
know
who's
where
saying the opposite is just not involved in the community. If that and that they're the outside looking in, just making assumptions.
I feel that way. Yes, I feel that way.
So Chronicles of Elyria, what to you has you most excited about this game? If you could boil it down, I mean, I anytime I think about this question, it just boggles my brain because I can't think of the thing I'm most excited
There's too
about.
many. There are too many things to boil it down to something so simple. But in my attempts to do so, to explain it to other people, was I don't think there's going to be any kind of in-game help. Does that make sense?
Yeah, just the no quest arrows, no quest lines to follow on the ground. Yes.
When we first logged into EQ, we logged in with a little bit of food.
I
a little
quit.
bit of
I
water.
quit the second day. I was like, this game's stupid.
Right? It's called EverQuest, and there are no freaking quests in it. No, I mean that was just it. It was so here's your start. You're on your own. Go make your own adventure. Go make your own life with this guy, with this person. And by contrast, you log into World of Warcraft. You start off in a quest zone.
A newbie hub.
Somebody, they tell you what to do. Right. They start in a hub, and then you move from one hub to the next, to the next, to the next.
Hold on, I got to level up so I can get to the next hub.
Yeah, it had its fun.
No.
It wasn't fun.
And I don't want to sit here looking all rose-tinted glasses back at EQ. EQ had massive problems.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, it was
no
just
doubt.
so many.
Dude,
but I loved it.
Right.
What World of Warcraft did was they identified a lot of those problems and said, hey, these aren't going to be problems in this game. And boom, they made a wildly successful game.
Right.
Easy mode.
Easy mode is a very good way of putting it. And
there is a massive market for easy games. I mean, easy modes, that people enjoy relax. Some people don't want to be like just continuously challenged to, and I don't want to say it like, I don't mean it like in a derogatory way. They just want to relax and play a game.
Right.
Not you know, constantly be just teeth kicked in every time they turn around.
The idea that we're going to get dumped into this open world with not much real direction and told to, you know, live your life.
Yeah, go survive.
Go survive.
Go try to be successful.
You know, absolutely.
Yes, I love that, man. I do. Here's how let me digress from our discussion. Yeah. I don't want to step on you. I was working with my son, and we were building my dad's house. We were working out there, and he's like, "Hey, Dad, there's a new MMO coming out." Because he's always he's a gamer, but he's never been an MMO guy, and he always hears me talk about the glory days, you know. And I was like, "Oh, really? What's so special about it?" Because again, okay, gonna be another pay to win type, loot box based, free to play. What is it? And he's like, no, you get one character, and when your character dies, he's dead. And I was like, yeah, that'll never work. That was my instant reaction. And he's like, no, Dad, you ought to check it out. And this was 2 years ago, I want to say.
Oh, it was 2016.
It was before the announcement of the Kickstarter, I think, or maybe he found out about it from the Kickstarter announcement. I'm not sure which, but so
no, it had to, because when you told me, the Kickstarter was still going.
So fast forward to that evening, and I went and started to look at this game he was talking about. And yes, you do die. Your character grows old and dies. And I was just utterly infatuated by these dev journals that this guy Caspian was putting on his website. I think there was like only 8 or 9 of them at the time. And I was like, holy crap, this is unreal. This guy's vision for an MMO, it's everything I've ever wanted since, like you said, we used to sit around, drink beers, and talk about what would be the perfect MMO. And these are ideas that they're trying to create that me and you used to kick around way back in the day and say, it could never happen, but wouldn't it be cool if?
Right.
You know? So to me, that started it, was that initial, hey, you get one character, he dies, he's dead. Now we know that now that's true still, but it's not as harsh as it sounds. It's not a hardcore server.
Right. Not as hardcore as we were originally led to believe, but still much more hardcore than any MMO made since EQ that I know of.
And we still don't know how that'll actually work out in the game. I mean, if people will just completely reject losing their character after, 70 years of playing, in game.
Right.
To me, I'm excited about making his life the best possible. And of course, you got to understand that your soul lives on, irregardless of your character dying, and your soul can be reincarnated into another body, be it your descendant or who you leave everything to from your previous life, or a brand new person somewhere else across the world. So, let's go to talk about why are we hyped. We talked about where we come from. We started talking about why are we hyped. So let's talk about
I was going to say there was a lot of hype in there.
No. Let's dive into the actual. We got a list here to talk about that we've kind of built off for this first episode, and I say we dive into it. Why are we hyped?
Well, we touched on it a little bit, obviously, but no, I'm hyped because the chance of making your character, giving him a real reputation, is what I think has been missing from so many MMOs.
No, without a doubt, you're just another insert class here, and with the exact same look.
How many times in World of Warcraft did you go to, insert whatever main city
auction house?
Hundreds of people stand around the auction house, and you didn't know any of them.
Yep, it just didn't matter. It just didn't
recognize a name. You know what I mean? No. I could not tell you. I was in a raiding guild, and I could not tell you what the top raiding guild on our server was when I played it. Wow.
Because it didn't matter.
Because it did not matter. But we go back to EQ. I bet you could even tell me what the top raiding guild was from EQ.
I don't know about cross server. Maybe, but again, we didn't touch on
No, on our server. The top raiding.
Silent Redemption, without a doubt.
Hands down. And we knew that. And we knew a lot of the people in their guild.
Just by their reputation, their main tank, and
I'm just saying, when I went to insert name of town here for whatever reason, or whenever I went to wherever a lot of people were, I recognized people every single day. They weren't part of my guild. I never grouped with them, but I knew them.
Oh, you remember epic weapons? It was like when the first guy got his epic weapon, and he would just stand by the teleporter, and people would just come up and look at him. It's like, holy crap, look at it. He has a flaming sword. Holy crap.
that's my point.
Yeah,
is
it
that,
mattered.
Yeah, and I mean, there's the idea of discovery. I never felt like anything was discovered in World of Warcraft ever.
No, and part of that's just the evolution of the internet and the availability of guides, and then of course the overlays and the
Well,
info.
and again, it has a lot to do with the times.
Yes.
I mean, EverQuest had a couple of websites where you could go look stuff up, but for the most part, things were being discovered in game in real time.
No, there's no doubt. That was a magical time. You know, the golden age again. Going back to that.
Right.
But I feel like this massive evolving online world, the M.E.O.W, is the next. Finally, after 20 years, is the next evolution of MMO gaming.
I think you need to describe to our listeners what M.E.O.W means, just in case they don't know what we're talking about.
That's Caspian, the actual creator of Chronicles of Elyria. That's his four-letter designation. Rather than saying it's another MMORPG, it's a M.E.O.W, massively evolving online world. This world, it's not a theme park, which is what all previous. I'm trying to, the difference between a sandbox and a theme park. How do you explain it? No matter how many times you kill an orc pawn, there's going to be an orc pawn there. No matter how many times you go to, I don't know enough WoW dungeons to.
That's fine, but that's a theme park.
That's a theme park. You go get on the
is.
ride, you take the ride, and you get off the ride, and then the next people get on the ride and they take the ride.
Right.
And that's a theme park, and it does not change no matter how many times people do it until a new expansion comes out to make a change. It's just the same world.
EQ had the same design setup.
Yes.
I mean,
it was a theme park.
If you went to an orc camp once and cleared it out, they would respawn.
Yes.
Same spot.
The only difference is a rare spawn. Ooh, rare mob.
There was the opposite. There was the opportunity for rare spawns to come up, and there was no person telling you to go to that camp and take out those orcs.
Right.
That was the only difference between the EQ theme park and the WoW theme park. That's the main difference.
Yeah, the main. I mean, we can get to nuance and all that kind of stuff, but basically,
Absolutely.
for the last 20 years, they've been theme parks, and this is, and many people have tried to make ones that weren't. I'm sure that people will message us and say, "What about this? What about this?" You're wrong. Which whatever. This game, I mean, truly, like whether you look at EQ, whether you look at WoW, which are the two big ones, I'm sure. The NPCs ruled the world. That was
Right.
a big part of it. Is the queen of Neriak was going to be the queen of Neriak no matter what, forever, unless an expansion or some world-changing event happened.
Yep.
And nothing you did about that, nothing you did in the game mattered. I don't even know if Freeport had a king. I don't even know but you get my point. The king of the elves was the king of the elves, and in Chronicles of Elyria, players are the kings, the queens, the dukes, the counts. They are running the world. They are creating the laws that you have to live under. And how you react to those laws and how they enforce them is going to just change the world. Not to mention you throw in your character's going to grow old and die. Your reputation matters. Finite resources and people discovering tech and researching and crafting and building an economy in a world. And there are no classes. I'm not a tank. I'm not a enchanter. I'm not a paladin. You know what I'm saying? Right. You are. I'm walking all over you, so feel free to butt in.
I gotta let you talk.
No, I'm just fired up when I get on a roll. But now, no classes. What you do is what you're good at. If you go out and swing a sword and fight, you're going to be good at swinging a sword and fighting. If you spend all your days at the forge, you're going to be good at making things with a forge. Some people would call that smithing.
I love the fumble there. The other thing that I'm super excited about is consequence.
Yes.
The idea that if Zebo, Drala, or whoever it inserts solo guy running around trying to level his character and tries to grab a town guard and attack him. Number one, town guard's probably a human being. He may be AFK or he might be logged out.
Offline, yeah.
But that's his character, and that's a real person. And then, somebody sees this happen, they can report it to the authorities. An investigator can come along and say, hey, what happened here?
Yes.
And they figure it out, and then someone goes, hey, I know that guy. He comes into my shop all the time. This is his name. This is where he lives. And boom. The next thing you know, the mayor or somebody's putting a guy's head, and
yes.
wanted posters start going.
We're yes.
We don't know for certain how the in-game mechanics and
systems,
stuff will work. But the justice system is going to be controlled by us, the players.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's positives and negatives to that, because there's always going to be people who cheese the system. They
Abuse
always
the
trying
system,
to find,
yes.
yeah, abuse the system, trying to get a leg up, accuse their neighbor of stealing or whatever. But that's what happens in real life.
And you talk about consequences mattering, and it's like everything matters, like from what you eat down to what you do for a living. Like if you sit around and eat cakes and do nothing active all day, like I don't know what's a good example of not being active, but if you sit in the shop all day just selling wares or whatever, which, I don't
Basically, any noble sitting on their pillows.
yes, you're going to become fat and out of shape. And then if you're a hardy adventurer that lives on jerky and water and is out climbing mountains, then you're going to be a lean. So what you actually do in the game is apparent in your physical makeup.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not just your physical appearance, but your actual statistics.
Well, I mean, I don't know. We don't yet know exactly which statistics
I'm saying that's the idea.
That is the idea as far as I know and understand. And again, everything we say is our understanding of the game, and we could be wrong on stuff. Hopefully, when we are wrong, people will correct us. So that's just
absolutely clear.
Our disclaimer.
This game is not close to being released.
Right.
So many things could change between now and then.
Yes.
But for the last 2 years, we've been keeping up with this and watching the design journals and watching the videos, reading the blogs, all of that stuff. So these are just our understandings of where the game is headed. What's the point behind it?
Yes. You're very well said.
But it's my understanding that if you live a sloth lifestyle, your physical, I keep saying statistics. I don't know if the stats are going to be part of the game so much as, just a general, when you start the game, you can pick up a 50-pound bag of wheat.
Right.
And if you live as a sloth for a month of real time, and then you go to pick up that 50-pound bag, you might not be able to move.
Right. No, and I think it comes down to the more physical stuff you do, the longer your stamina bar will last when you do physical stuff.
Right.
The less physical stuff you do, the quicker your stamina bar is going to drain when you do physical things. And so there's, as far as I understand, there are no levels. In fact, I can say that pretty definitively. There are no levels in this game. They're just who you are.
The idea that you have to have some kind of dexterity for combat means that there are going to be people out there who are really, really good at it, regardless of what their character's stats are.
No, they've said that the player skill is going to matter.
Right.
And this isn't
at the same time.
Loot is not going to make up for that because there's no +5 sword of Vorpal head slaying.
He said Vorpal. No, you're right. And that's another thing that I've disliked about role-playing games in general for a very long time, is that it becomes a loot grind.
No, there's no doubt.
I'm not even talking just about computer games or console games. I'm talking about pen and paper.
Pen and paper, crawling through the dungeon days.
You know what I mean? Originally it was supposed to be, if you did find that +1 sword, you were badass because you probably had the only one for 100 miles. Yeah, and your group, it was probably the only magic weapon in your group.
Yeah, and then the only way to get it better was to get a +2, and so the grind begins.
Yeah, and it became everybody in the group has to have a +1 sword or a +1 weapon or +1 armor, whatever. And it has spiraled out of control to the point of now MMOs feel like Diablo, and that's Diablo. Loot's the point. You know what I mean? It is a loot pinata game. You beat on stuff until they drop their crap. You pick it up, you put it on, you keep going.
Yeah, you get better stuff, and if it's not better stuff, you transform it into better stuff you want.
That's the point of that style of game.
Right.
I don't think that should be the point of an MMO.
Well, it's definitely not the point of the M.E.O.W.
Right.
So and then moving off of loot and on to, so people ask, does loot matter? Well, it's supposed to matter. I mean, durability. I mean, it's like in real life. A good sword's a good sword.
I don't think we can call it loot.
Gear.
I think it has to. I think they have to relabel it into gear.
Gear's a good name for it. Because what do? Do you have the tools? They're tools, man. Tools to do your job, whatever your job is in that game.
To go back to your World of Warcraft analogy from earlier, or your story, you're not going to go out into the woods, kill a bear, get a green sword. If you do kill that bear, you're going to get a pelt, you're going to get meat, you're going to get bone, you're going to get crafting mats.
I think
Crafting mats like that is probably the only thing I think you could really call loot in this game, because everything else is going to be crafted.
I'm sure there'll be some stuff that's. I mean, obviously there's ruins in the game, and the whole your character's story and the lore. And that's the other thing that everybody has a destiny. We haven't even touched on this. When you create your character and you put in a birth date and the stars align for that and all that kind of thing, you actually have a destiny for your character that is built into the game engine. Now, whether you chase that destiny or not is completely up to the player that plays. You know,
whether you actually find that destiny.
Yes, I mean, and you know, this just leaves wild speculation on my part. But it's like every fantasy book I've ever read. You know, the kid farmer in the fantasy world, you know, finds the amulet in the while he's out there farming, and it leads him on this grand adventure. You know, and I just see that kind of potential with Chronicles of Elyria, where what do you do if you find that amulet as your character while you're out there farming your corn, and you go and you sell it to the local vendor, you know, and you just passed vendor up on trash. Vendor trash. There it is. I just got 14 gold for this thing.
14 gold.
Yes, man. I can buy so much corn seed. But no, it's just exciting, man. And you know, we haven't even touched on talents, you know, which has been.
Back in EverQuest, I know we keep going backwards, but it's making me think of it when you were talking about that. There was an event one time where the developers logged in to our server and they started giving out quests. And they gave these long quests. Basically, it was it was just like a hunt. Go bring me this. Go bring me this. Go bring me this. But it was a live person giving the quest.
Sure.
And after about 6 hours of this, it ended with one person getting one item being presented to them from the Dwarf King. I forget the dwarf town. But the forums exploded within hours. Because this guy got this item and there's no other way to get it in the game.
Right. So not fair. Not fair.
Yeah, not fair. Exactly. But that was EQ's mistake. I don't think it was a mistake. I thought it was great. I thought that guy getting that item was outstanding. I had no problem with it at all.
No. In fact, I remember one of the Nectalos Forest, same type of scenario. It was out there by the teleporter pyramid, whatever. And some GM logged in as Solusek Ro, or I don't even remember which god, but
oh yeah, I know what you're talking. No, I don't remember the incident, but
same type of thing. And at the end of it, it lasted a long time. And at the end of it, and mostly just people heard about it on the server and just started migrating towards Nectalos, and there was just hundreds of people standing around watching this, you know, as the text wall rolled by. But at the end of it, they gave like 3 people rewards that you couldn't get anywhere else, and it was just a really cool. And I guess you know, of course, that was the big argument on all the boards back then about class balance and fairness and all that. And in this game, it's like, fuck fair. Go.
Well, and I don't even. That was not the point I was trying to make, though.
I know, but it's a really good point.
When your character has a built-in destiny, you don't have to have a GM log in to give you something special. Your character is born with something special, and then it's up to you to find it and bring it to fruition.
Yeah. No, it's the potential is exciting. I don't know the implementation. We'll see. Again,
right? No, we can't make any promises about implementation.
No, we just make promises about potential and our excitement.
Right.
No, the like I said, back to the F fair. In this world, you are what you choose to be, and what you know. Your potential is limited only by you and your choices. Yeah, now, obviously, there's going to be outside influencers.
When player skill matters, there is no fair.
Yeah.
Like, there's just not. You can log in 2 characters and have them do the exact same thing every minute of every day. Train with the sword, learn how to use the armor, learn how to use the shield, have all the exact same stats. When you stand those 2 people in front of each other, the person who's better with the keyboard and mouse is going to win every time.
Yeah.
You cannot be fair
in skill-based
game like this. Yeah,
well, we'll see. I mean, we don't know how much character stats matter versus player skill yet. You know, they're talking 50-50 most of the time I hear about it. So
I don't want fair.
No, I agree with you. I think we both love that aspect of this game is your individual ability matters. Your character's individual ability also should matter, though, is my point. not just.
I'm not saying that my character is going to become a badass, but I want my character to reflect the amount of effort I put into him.
And that's the beauty.
And I don't want somebody to come up behind me and put in half the effort and be just as good.
No, and I think the statement they've made is someone who's good at fighting as a player, not the character, with the rusty dagger is going to outplay someone with a sword who doesn't know what they're doing.
Right.
And so to me, it's just exciting. And yeah, you can go on and on and on. But what else can we touch on briefly before we wrap this up? Crafting and finite resources, player-made laws, information is a commodity that can be traded, and I don't know, information exists in the game.
I am a little hung up on the finite resources.
Okay.
Because I don't know how they're going to implement that and make it viable, I guess is a correct word. When you build the world and you set the resources in there,
right,
and they're never going to be any more ever,
right,
eventually they're going to be gone, right?
Eventually, but they have a real life 10-year plan story arc for this world. So, and obviously, I'm sure they have adjusters where they can go and say, "Holy crap, our world's going to be out of resources in 2 years. Let's move the sliders." Behind the scenes engine stuff. I mean, I can only assume. If they don't, they're crazy. But so I don't think we should. Basically, this is how I look at it. Like, let's say. Go back to 1849 and the gold boom in California. I foresee that happening in Elyria, where some material, Elyrium, is discovered, in the mountains of Corcodarsus. And, because I'm going to name some mountains Corcodarsus. If we haven't gotten to the freaking exploring and naming things.
We need to talk about the mapping in a little bit.
Yeah. But anyway, so back to the mountains of Corcodarsus and the Elyrium being discovered there. And then just boom, these settlements just popping up, shanty towns and people moving there and people being named the mayor from the count saying, holy crap, but then the Elyrium dries up and goes away. There's going to be ghost towns. Hard work is going to be lost from the boom drying up, as well as tons of people making a fortune off the boom happening. It's going to be the drama of this world is created by the players and their reactions to what goes on in the world and the reactions of other players.
Reaction is a very good word to describe how I feel that this game is going to play.
And we haven't even got on Dance of Dynasties. I know. I mean, there's so much to this game that it's hard to touch on. And future episodes, we're going to deep dive whatever you want to say. We're going to vendor trash it up on specific.
This podcast could easily cover about 10 hours just talking about the surface stuff of what we know.
Yeah, that's very, very shallow bits of what we understand about this game and what we're excited about. But yeah, the Dance of Dynasties, to me, I'm not even a noble. My package from the Kickstarter days is a Bloodline, and the one I picked was the one I could afford that would get me into exposition. That was my.
Why don't you explain a little bit Dance of Dynasties exposition? Because some people listening to this may not.
Yes. Okay. No, and that's our point, was people who don't know about the game, and we're doing a terrible job of that. Dance of Dynasties. Everybody. The goal is every king, duke, baron, everybody that is a nobility is a player in the game. And they have agendas, laws to pass, whole kingdoms to run, settlements, kingdoms, dukedoms, countdoms, earldoms, I don't know where. Anyway, all the way down to the mayors have to set laws for that place and run it. And I think Caspian, thank you, said it best. I was thinking Cassius Belli, but not the point. That the Chronicles of Elyria is like, yeah, it's a role-playing game. You have your character. That's like the lowest level that most people enjoy. And then there's like the settlement. It's more, I'm doing a terrible job. I should have pulled this up. But basically, like a king is playing like Sim City. It's a giant kingdom running simulator where he's trying to run his kingdom. And then there's a tier in between, more like a RTS. I mean, I don't quote me on any of that because that's a terrible analogy. But there's so much more to it. But my point is, digressing completely, is that I'm just going to be a guy who's out exploring, trying to make his way in the world of adventuring and exploring and making maps and collecting resources. But in the background for me is this entire Dance of Dynasties of players actually almost like I'm in Game of Thrones. I'm in Westeros, and the kings are backstabbing each other. Now I'm just a commoner, but I know about it and I hear about it. I go to the tavern and I hear, what the Lannisters are doing to the Starks, and it's a real thing. It's not a static world. And to me, that's just super exciting because I'm going to be, am I going to hate my Duke? Am I going to love my Duke? Who knows until we get there and see what kind of laws he makes.
So, another thing we really didn't touch on is that every server is going to be different.
Yeah, each one has its own map. I don't know how
much longer you want to keep doing this, but
we'll go till whenever, man. We'll edit this up, figure out how it
sounds.
No,
seriously, the fact that each server, everything's going to start at a certain time. It's, I don't know what they call it, the Alpha 1.
Alpha's just mechanical checking and things like that. I'm not sure.
Okay. Never mind. I'll shut up. There's the Dance of Dynasties part.
Right.
And then there is the part where the worlds get set, the kingdoms.
Land selection.
Where they're at, the land selection. They go through all of these things. And once the worlds are set, once the kingdoms are set up, where they're going to be, the worlds start moving. And from that point on, they will not be the same.
Yeah.
Am I right?
No, they're completely shaped by player choice and right. Yeah.
So if you create a character on the Luna server and then just find out later on that all your friends are playing on what's the name of the East Coast server?
It's something to do with the sun, but I can't spout it off the top of my head.
Whatever that other server is.
We're going to be on Luna, obviously, since it's the only one we remember.
But no, if you find out that all your friends are playing on a different server, and then you go over there, it's going to be a different world.
Yeah, different place.
All the people, not only are all the players going to be different.
All the kings, all the queens, all the kingdoms, all the borders.
All the players are the people.
Yeah.
So
there will be NPCs.
You go into will be different. Oh, I know, but for the majority, NPCs, I don't think really affect the world, right?
We don't know how much. I think even Soulbound Studios is anxious to find out how much they're going to need NPCs versus how much the players are going to be able to carry. I don't know. I don't think anyone knows. I'm not even sure they know until they start getting farther into playtesting and seeing, okay, well...
But the plan is for NPCs to be AI-driven autonomous sheep who basically do what the world around them forces them to do.
Well, and they're driven by the I don't want to say Maslow's, but basically their hierarchy of needs. If they're not getting food, they're going to migrate and go someplace where they can get food.
Right.
If their kids are going to die, every NPC in the game has a hierarchy, and each one will be different according to the dev journals and stuff. And so, yes, they matter, but it's more about their resources in the game. And the other part is you never log out of this game. Like when you leave and quit controlling your character stays in the game, continuing to do what he does based off of scripts that you give him or adopt for him and things like that. And again, no one knows how that's going to work out until we see it in action.
But no, your character cannot leave. There is no camping out.
Yeah, it's not like, hey, we're going to get to the cave entrance and camp out. I'll see you there tomorrow. No, when you get to the cave entrance and camp out.
Literally log out of the game and log back in the next day and you're dead.
You're dead.
That's just 100% can happen.
Yes.
And you have to take that into account. And again, it goes back to what I said.
Consequences.
The fact that there are consequences.
Yes.
You have to weigh everything carefully. If you take off on a trip into the hills and realize, I can't get back before I have to log out, who knows what's going to stumble across you? Who knows what your character is going to do while you're gone?
Yeah. And there's no conning system. I mean, that's another big part of the game. You don't click on a creature or a person and it's like, he's red. Don't fight him. No, you look at them and
what would you like your tombstone to say?
Yeah. You look at him and you say, holy crap, he's got a claymore and plate armor and he's buff as, I don't think I want to mess with this guy.
We had the bear discussion many times about we're out in the woods doing whatever, exploring or hunting or whatever it is we're doing, and you run across that bear. The bear is not an, oh no, we've got a fight coming. The bear is drop everything and run for your life.
Yes. In fact, one of my favorite, I don't know if it's a post or it's a dev journal or it was an answer on the live stream, the Twitch stream, but Caspian was talking about, he was answering a question of, is there a fear mechanic in the game? And when you're talking about fear mechanics in most games,
Right.
it's you lose control of your character, you run in a random direction because you've been feared, you know?
Right.
And Caspian's answer, and I'm paraphrasing Caspian, but was, no, if you see, what was the creature? I don't remember, Ursula. I don't think it was Ursula, it was the other one. But he goes, no, if you see this creature, you should be afraid. That's our fear mechanic. It's like,
And if you're not afraid, you're going to die.
yeah.
End of story.
And the next time you see it, you will be afraid. So that's our fear mechanic. And that intrigues me immensely that, no, you should be afraid when you go out into the wilderness because the wilderness can kill you. You should be afraid when you see a creature because the creature can kill you. And dying has consequences.
And the World of Warcraft mentality of, I'm going to bang my head against this until I defeat it,
right,
is not going to get you anywhere in this game.
No, I remember just logging into WoW and saying, okay, I'm just going to run this direction. Oh, I died. Okay, I'm going to run this direction as it goes back to my body. I'm going to keep running this direction. And anyway, I could rail on WoW and why I didn't.
I'm not. Don't misunderstand me. I am not knocking on WoW. I spent years playing WoW.
No, you played WoW
Really
a lot more than I did.
So I'm not saying that it's a bad game. It's just not what I want out of an immersive MMO style game.
No, it was great for what it was. I mean, I'm not a hater on WoW. It's
just qualifying.
Yes.
That when I say that the mentality of the people who play that game is, you gather up your 10 friends or whatever a raid is now and go into the raid and you wipe, okay, regroup, rebuff, do it again. That's not going to exist in this game. When you die, I mean, we don't know for certain, but apparently there's supposed to be a way to get back to your body.
No, you got to walk the death planes or that.
Right, the death planes, right, whatever they are. It becomes another adventure. Yeah, I mean, you have to jump through these steps, and if you don't do it right, or you don't do it in time, or however the mechanic ends up working, the character's dead.
You die.
You die.
And
that thought alone is supposed to dictate how we act in the game.
Well, and this is the other part.
Afraid of the death.
Back to the destiny in your story and how as the more impact you have on the world, the more your death matters. So in other words, think of your life or your soul as 0 to 100. Every time you die, you lose a little bit. So the first time you die, you go from 0 to 99. You know what I'm saying? You die and you get to 0, you're dead forever. Your soul has to have a new body and you get a new character. And so that being said, the more impact you have on the world, your death has on the world. Then so like if you're a king, let's say, and you die, then you lose 33. So the first time you die, you're down to 66. And if you're just a lowly farmer out in the fields, then of course your death doesn't matter to the world. So you can die 100 times. But the bigger a hero you are, or I don't know a better word,
the more important you are to the actual game.
Yes. The more impact you have on the world, the more your death matters. And so, in other words, the more impact you have on the world, the less you want to die, because it's going to cost your soul a lot if that happens. And so to me, that mechanic is just amazing. So people who want to really go out there and affect the world, they not only can because of the way this world is built, but their deaths, again, it goes back to there's actually fear of dying built into this game because, I love this character and I only get to play him so long. And that makes it matter.
And make no mistakes, all of the kings have been set. Those packages have been purchased. Those people already have their kingdoms.
Yeah.
And there are already people plotting to take them down.
To murder them. To assassinate them.
Without fail, there are people right now, probably not making a podcast, but there are people right now talking about, okay, when we get into this game, we're going to inch our way closer to such and such kingdom. We are going to worm our way into it, and we are going to take them down and take that kingdom.
We are going to take over that king. And to me, see, like I have zero interest in being a noble and being responsible for other people's well-being and life and the building of settlements and things like that. I want to be involved in a settlement and see it be successful from the ground floor. But I have no interest in the nobility side of this game. But I have a massive interest in existing in a game where all that stuff matters.
You are interested in the nobility as much as you are interested in watching the next season of Game of Thrones.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
You want to watch it play out.
And I want to exist in that world and make choices that benefit my group and my characters and the people I care about based off of
Your surroundings.
Yes,
right.
it's like
Your environment.
Count Dooku is going to come and eliminate Count Palpatine. You know, hopefully people don't take Star Wars names as their characters, but
Count Dookie.
So back, you did touch on the king packages and stuff, and I want to touch on the pay to win argument about Chronicles of Elyria, because that's one of the probably the biggest knocks I see on people who don't understand the game.
For the record, there is no pay to win in this game.
There is no pay to win in Chronicles of Elyria. Now people can argue it, and haters do, but they're like, well, if you can pay $10,000 and be a king, then boom, you just paid to win. And I'm like, well, yeah, if your idea of winning a game where you just exist is being king, then yeah, I guess you can look at it that way. But bottom line, I don't want to be king. And so how can that even be winning? But the bottom line is the world needs kings to start the game, and anybody can become a king. I'm just like anybody can be president. Is it going to happen? No. But
it's entirely possible that after 3 months, our entire server can just completely devolve into anarchy. I'm not saying that will happen. I'm saying that
go ahead. I'll tell you what.
I'll say that possibility exists.
I'm excited.
You know what I'm saying?
Sorry, I keep walking on you. No, I'm excited about the fact of some count, let's say, I'm just picking counts for some reason, but some count passes laws and puts oppressive taxation on this place and rules with a micromanagement iron fist, and the people just hate it and migrate away, and the few that stayed is turned into lawless criminals, and you basically got a dystopian Mad Max area of the world because of this horrible ruler. You know what I'm saying? It's just a shitty kingdom. And I'm excited about those places existing. I'm hoping it's not the place I choose to settle in. But if it does...
And there's a domino effect to stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's just a crazy amount of, do you see what's going on in the county over there? Like, yeah, I see what's going on. Can we get permission from the king to just go take it over and make our county bigger? I don't know. Let's ask him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's so many things could happen. So many different ways. It is completely unpredictable the way the people are going to act.
No, it's a giant social experiment on how these people are going to react to each other and which kings are going to flourish and their kingdoms be awesome and technology becomes discovered and artifacts are, unearthed and the other kingdoms just anarchy and unrest and rebellion. We've talked about what happens if our king's a tyrant and we're going to join the rebellion. And that's just exciting to me that could happen. I don't want to be in a rebellion, but
no, we talked about it a bit when we were talking about the what happens if we're doing our thing, we're living our life, we've got our things set up the way we want to do it, and we're doing what we want to do, and then the nobles come through and they're like, we're going to war with the kingdom next door, and you're conscripted. Let's go.
You're pressed into service.
Now, I'm not saying that will happen. And I'm not saying that it's even, remotely realistic, but the possibility is there.
Yeah.
And then you have to decide at that moment, am I going to be the good person,
the good subject,
king? Am I going to be the loyal subject and go do what I'm told? Or am I going to bolt out of here because I don't want to go do that?
Right. Am I going to burn my draft card and get the F out? And
yeah, I'm moving to Canada.
And to me it comes down to once we get into the game and getting to know not my king, obviously I'm not going to hang out with my king, but get to knowing through the laws and what led to this fight. Why are we fighting these people on the border? Are they the evil barbarians who are constantly raiding and they're making life hell for the subjects of this kingdom I belong to and I love? You know what I'm saying? At that point, I'm like taking up arms and we're heading out. You know what I mean? But if we're the warmongering tyrant ourselves and he's just pressing people into service to go conquer lands, at that point, and then so to me that's the exciting part of this world is it's a living, breathing world, a massive, evolving online world that we get to go and be a part of. God, dude, we haven't touched on so much stuff. I don't even know if we've hit the target audience we're trying to aim for to explain things to, but I've had fun talking about it.
Yes. And I can already see how these things are going to devolve.
Yes, every time.
But I think that's what we were going for.
No, without a doubt. And hopefully, listeners, you will give us questions to answer and direction to go in the future. Because hopefully we're going to keep making these quite regularly and talk about the game. And we're going to need input from you guys to keep it interesting and talk about things you want to talk about. So
there's only so much content released about the game for us to talk about.
Right.
So we are,
and we plan on talking about all of it.
No, yeah, we do. We do plan on talking about it. But if this is going to keep going, then we need to talk about the things that you want to talk about.
Yes. And ultimately our goal is to be this podcast to have enough traction and interest that we can actually interview some members of Soulbound Studio and talk to them and pick their brains.
That'd be the dream.
Yeah,
the dream.
We have dreams. And if you have ideas,
we are Vendor Trash.
Vendortrash27@gmail.com is where you can email us. You can find us on YouTube at Vendor Trash, and hopefully soon on iTunes and Stitcher and everywhere else you can find podcasts.
Hopefully at some point in the future we'll pick up things like maybe a Discord channel, or who knows? Who knows where this will go?
Right.
Depends.
Right now we're just recording ourselves talking about a game we love and sharing it with you, and we'll go from there. Patch, you were freaking awesome.
It was a pleasure, sir.
No, that was me. Voice again. That was me fishing for a compliment.
You shall not get it. It shall not be had.
Shall not have. All right, man. It was good times.
All right, man. It was a lot of fun. We'll see you next time.
Till episode 2.